Commissioner. Nick Hamilton, Nightcast Media. Wanted to ask you, in recent news as far as the NIL is concerned, are there any plans for the Pac-12 as well as the other schools in the Pac-12 to provide educational services for the student athletes as it pertains to that, regarding, taxes and financial education and things of that nature?
Yes, all of our schools are doing independent educational programs for their student athletes. Maybe I could turn that over to Rob to talk about some of the specifics around his university.
Sure. I think all of our schools have long had robust student athlete development programs. So we've been providing these services for several years, and obviously, we'll tailor those to the new environment that we're in with NIL. We'll get feedback from our student athletes, from our coaches, and continue to update those programs. But absolutely, we're doing an A to Z educational programs at our schools.
At the conference level, we'll be putting in place programs like the one I announced today related to highlight packages being available. We'll continue to do that from the conference level and work with each of the schools as they continue to work under individual state laws until there's federal legislation.
Stuart Mandel from The Athletic. I was hoping to ask both George and Rob about this with realignment. You mentioned, George, that you've had a lot of significant interest coming in from other schools. What bar would a potential member have to clear to be to consider to be kind of worthy of being a member of the Pac-12? And do you feel like there's any risk to staying at 12 teams if, like you said, further consolidation occurs?
I'll answer the second one first. We don't think there's any risk at staying at 12 teams. With respect to bars, that is something we're going to be discussing with our presidents and chancellors. As you know, we take into account athletics, academics, cultural fit, all very important to us, but there is no set bar that anyone needs to clear.
I'd just add that we have a strong 12, obviously, and in this league, we've always been about innovation, about being ahead and evolving, and this will be no different in that.
James Creppy with the Oregonian Commissioner, following up on that as well. The AAU affiliation has been a point of pride for this conference as well as the Big Ten. In your understanding and conversation with the presidents, is AAU affiliation a prerequisite? And following that, there's a report in the last 15 minutes that Texas Tech and Kirby-Hocutt have had conversations with this league. Can you confirm that you have had contact in any way with Kirby-Hocutt and Texas Tech?
Yeah, like I mentioned, we're not going to talk about any individual school. We're not going to, negotiate in the media. That's just not the way we do business. There is no preset requisite about a specific accreditation. We're very proud of the schools that do have that accreditation within our school. And you may remember when Utah joined us, they did not have that accreditation, and they received that accreditation after they joined us. But that's not there's no prerequisites.
Commissioner Ryan Carchi, Los Angeles Times. You noted, obviously, that you're encouraging everyone to get vaccinated. Notably, one of your 12 coaches are not present today, specifically because he was not vaccinated. What's the message been to Nick Rolovich in Washington State, and how does the Pac-12 plan to handle similar situations going forward?
So the decision about whether to get vaccinated or not is a private individual decision. We don't mandate that anyone gets vaccinated. We are not in the middle of that discussion with him. That's not our business. We were able to require that anyone who attended Media Day be vaccinated, and we're happy to have all of the coaches, student athletes, and head coaches who were vaccinated joining us.
Commissioner Adam Grossbard from the Orange County Register. Is there going to be any sort of cancellation policy due to COVID cases or anything like that for the season this year?
So we're considering what our forfeiture policy will be. We'll probably announce that in the next couple of weeks. We're, as I mentioned previously in the press, leaning towards going back to the pre-COVID policy of forfeits if you can't field a team, but we've not made that final decision yet. Wonder if Merton wants to add anything to that.
We certainly have to take the temperature of the country into account as we formulate these policies. Obviously, we don't want to be in a position where we have to switch streams, so to speak, mid-season. I don't think everybody wants that in any sport. So as the Commissioner stated, we certainly expect to have a position announced mid-August.
Josh Furlong, KSL.com. Obviously, the Pac-12 in recent years has kind of taken a bad name in terms of the refereeing, whether that's right or wrong. What do you feel like can be done in terms of the reffing and the perception that maybe is out there about what's going on the field?
I'll happily take that, and that's a misnomer. Quite frankly, 30 years of playing football at the highest levels across every division, so to speak, from high school, college, professionally. We've got a very good officiating program led by David Coleman. We're getting better literally daily. We're improving our training. We're going to make great strides. We're going to be fine as far as the officiating piece.
Hi, Shereen Ryan in the front row. Mark Emmert says this is the right time to consider decentralized, deregulated college sports. What does that mean for the Pac-12?
That's an ongoing discussion between the NCAA and all of the commissioners. I think we're going to see some shakeup there. Mark's been pretty clear about his desires to have less responsibility sit at the NCAA and more responsibility come down to the conferences and the schools, and we welcome that.
Yeah, Commissioner, this is Brian Howell from the Boulder Daily Camera. Obviously, last year there was a robust testing policy for COVID-19. I'm just curious what the policy will be this year with so many of the athletes being vaccinated. Will there be a testing policy this year?
We certainly will have a testing policy. A lot of it relates to who's vaccinated, who's unvaccinated. Certainly our medical advisory committee, our Pac-12 medical advisory committee will advise us on proper procedure, and then subsequently we're also subject to state and local regulations as well. So we obviously have to work with our local municipalities in that respect. We will have a policy. It will not be as robust, certainly, as last year, though.
Mike Varell, Seattle Times. Commissioner, where do you stand on the possibility of a scheduling alliance with a different conference?
I think it's an interesting opportunity. It's under discussion, but nothing to announce today.
Ryan Abraham with 24/7 Sports. In light of what happened with the Big 12, what can the Pac-12 do to protect its biggest brands from looking elsewhere?
Rob, maybe you can handle that.
Sure. I mean, this league is a great league. It's got a rich tradition for many, many years. There's strong collaboration, and we're all committed to working together to strengthen the league and, again, be prepared as the industry evolves.
All of the press reports where someone writes an article completely unfounded about schools going here, schools going there, and then everyone picks it up and that becomes a news cycle. Really is interesting and curious and fun for the fans and fun for the media, but is not based in reality. If you were sitting in the rooms that I'm sitting in, we feel very comfortable with our current membership.
Question for Rob. Dan Greenspan with the Associated Press. With your athletic director hat on, would you prefer football-only expansion to reduce some of the logistical challenges with traveling Olympic sports?
I haven't given that a whole lot of thought, to be honest with you, but that creates its own logistical challenges in and of itself. So off the top of my head, from the cuff, I would say that I personally, this is one person's opinion, prefer a league whereby you have competition in all sports.
This question is for Commissioner Brad Susmat with Sports 360 AZ. Commissioner, the Pac-12 network coming into this football season, how do you feel about distribution, where it's heading in the Pac-12 network?
So I wish distribution was better, but some of our current and existing distribution contracts make it very difficult to expand distribution under the current model, I think we have to look forward to 2024 and set our fans' expectations that that's when we'll be able to reset the distribution. I wish more people could see the incredibly high quality and good content that our network produces, but just being honest, the distribution is not where I would like it to be.
James Creppy with the Oregonian. Commissioner Merton, if you can, you're going to have a football coach speak today whose program is accused of, and documented allegedly, according to multiple reports, of flagrant cheating last year in recruiting. Can you offer your assessment so far of what you know about Arizona State and the actions of that coaching staff?
I'll speak on behalf of the conference. We don't have a comment. That's between the NCAA and ASU at this time. And that is our policy. We simply don't comment on those.
Hey all, Jasper Sundin of the Daily Cal. This could be a bit of a shot in the dark here, but what role, if any, do non-football or non-basketball sports play in expansion?
I think we take into account all of the factors when we would consider expansion, and certainly non-football sports would be one of those factors. And the quality of the sports program at any schools we'd be considering would certainly be part of the calculation.
Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports. George, given that we don't know how many conferences are going to be in FBS, who's going to be in those conferences, is it worthy having a discussion about further discussion about structure and access in the playoff?
That'll be part of the discussion. The next meeting of the CFP is in September, and I'm sure that the news that broke since the last time we met will color that discussion for sure.
Does anyone have any further questions?
Hey guys, one last one. The We Are United movement, I think, took the entire country by storm last year. What role do you expect players from all sports to have in the decision-making process at the Pac-12?
Well, as George mentioned in the open, obviously the student athletes have played a leadership role in this league. We were the first to have them a part of the council. Obviously, we've, as a result of that, we also set up a football student athlete specific working group. We all have incredibly strong SACs on our own campuses. So the student athletes have been involved in the decision making at the Pac-12 for many, many years, both at a local level as well as a conference level, and that will certainly continue.
Commissioner Tony Siracusa from Last Word on College Football. While you said that expansion is not a priority and you're fine with the number you have, while the SEC is expanding in anywhere from 1 to 3 years, does that put a time frame on your consideration for the teams that have reached out to you? Do you feel there's a calendar working with you?
So I did not say that expansion is not a priority. I said we didn't think it was necessary in order to continue to be strong and strive as a conference. It is a priority to consider all of the alternatives that have been presented to us, and we will do that in a very timely manner.